Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have a special book haul video for the month of June. I did do a book haul video in May, and then I also did a book haul video in the middle of June for the Fate of the Jedi series, which I purchased this month. And I thought, because I bought the whole 9-book series and it was all part of one big buy, I thought I would do that in a separate video. So I'm not really counting that in the month of June's book haul video. And I have 12 books that I bought in the month of June, and I'm very excited to get into them. I have all types of genres, even some nonfiction in here, which I'm excited to get into. So let me know after you've watched the video which book you've read that you were most excited for me to read, and which books you didn't like that I bought. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below, and please make sure to like and subscribe. So one of the books I bought was Deadbeat. This is the next book. I think this is the book 7. Yeah, book 7 in the Dresden Files. Saw it for pretty cheap at the used bookstore and was like, hey, I can add it. Read it as the next Dresden. I usually do about 6 months in between each Dresden book. So it'll still be, it'll be later this year that I get to this, but I'll get to it eventually. So that'll be Deadbeat by Jim Butcher. And it's a pretty hefty book. It's about 500 pages. That'll be the longest Dresden book so far, and I think they only get longer from here. Next, I got a book called Songs of Earth and Power by Greg Bear. I've read a couple of Greg Bear books. I read his Star Wars book that was Rogue Planet, which I didn't love. I thought it was meh, not great. And then I also read his book Eon, which I hated. I hated Eon with a passion. But I want to give him another chance, so I'm trying a different genre from him. This is kind of a fantasy novel from what I understand, and it's actually a bind-up of 2 books. Let me make sure I have the titles of the 2 books. The 2 books are The Infinity Concerto and The Serpent Mage. And so it's a bind-up of 2 books together, so it becomes the Songs of Earth and Power. So I'll try giving this a read. I might just read the first of the 2 just to see whether I like it or not. They're not too terribly long. They're only like 300-something pages each, but we'll see. But I'm not the biggest Greg Bear fan, but I did like the cover. This is a pretty nice cover. Next, this is one of the rare times I didn't buy the book. My dad has been on a CJ Box kick. He's been buying and reading the Joe Pickett novels. Normally, my dad reads a book maybe every month, maybe. Like, he reads, but he's not a voracious reader. And he picked up the first Joe Pickett novel sometime in late March or early April. And so in the last 2.5 months, he's read 6 of the books, and he's just loving it. And he read through them and was saying, hey, you want to read it? You want to have my books? Because he would buy them, read them, and then he's done. He's not going to read them again. So he asked me if I wanted one. So I took the first one from him just to see if I'll enjoy it. This is open season. This was recently turned into a TV show on Paramount Plus. But I am interested to read this. Not really. It seems like it's a mystery, but not like a traditional mystery. So I'm intrigued to read it. My dad recommended to me the Grisham books, and I loved the John Grisham books that I've read. So I'll probably still enjoy this. So this is on I'll read it eventually. I also bought the book Neverwhere. I have been told to read Neil Gaiman by a lot of people, and a lot of people suggested Neverwhere as the place to start. I think this is, I might be wrong, but I believe this is the book that people said was similar to Narnia that he wrote, or at least as a response to Narnia or something. And then this book was really cheap at the used bookstore, and I thought, you know what, I'll eventually give it a try. So we'll see with Neverwhere. I do like Neil Gaiman's voice when I hear him talk on a podcast or something. Next book I got was a fantasy novel, an epic fantasy novel, Dragons of Summer Flame. I read the first of the Dragonlance trilogy, the first book in that, and I didn't love it. But I do intend to give books 2 and 3 a try, and I saw this book, which is like a bridge book between this series and the next series, and I thought, you know what, I'll give it a try, see if I enjoy it as well. So, and now I have all the 4 seasons. You have Dragons of Autumn Twilight, Winter Night, and Spring Dawning, and then this one is Summer Flame. So I have all the seasons. So we'll see. This one, it'll be a year or two before I get to this one, if I'm being honest. Next, I have the shortest book that I bought, Secret of the Lost Race by Andre Norton. Never read any Andre Norton, but this book fascinated me, especially with how short it is. It's only, let me check the page count, it's like 130 pages, so it's a very short book. Almost, you could say it's a novella. And it's got some fascinating artwork on the inside that I really appreciated. And this is apparently part of a series, but when I looked it up, it seemed like you could actually read this book as a standalone as well. So I'll have to do more research. But I just was very fascinated by the cover, and I've never read anything by Andre Norton. So I'm interested to see this. So that's that one. Next, though, this one I'm excited about. This is Wool by Hugh Howey. This book is the first in the Silo trilogy by Hugh Howey. The Silo, you might have heard of it. It's a new TV show on Apple TV Plus with one of my favorite actresses, Rebecca Ferguson. And so I thought, the TV show was intriguing enough, and the books were intriguing enough. But then I have a friend named Jeremy, and Jeremy's a loyal fan of the YouTube channel and often comments, so he'll probably comment on this one. Jeremy has been reading the book and has been updating everyone on his Twitter and stuff, and I'm after I saw his updates, I was like, darn, I need to read the book now so that I can watch the TV show. Because Apple TV Plus makes some good sci-fi shows. They have some great sci-fi shows on there. If you haven't seen For All Mankind, watch it. But they have the Silo TV show. So I hope to read this eventually so that I can watch the show. And the show did get renewed for season 2. So if I like the books, I'll be really excited to see multiple seasons of the show. And this is like a 550-page book. So it's decent. It's a tome, but it's not crazy big. Speaking of, we're getting into the crazy big territory. Another science fiction series book I read or bought was Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. Several authors I've heard talk on podcasts say if you want to read science fiction, if you want to read hard sci-fi, read Kim Stanley Robinson's Mars trilogy, the Red Mars, Blue Mars, Green Mars. And I thought, okay, I can do that. But most of my local bookstores don't have the books. Thankfully, my local bookstore did have this one. They didn't have books 2 and 3, but they had this one. And I thought I'd give it a try. I'm really getting into that kind of sci-fi of exploring new planets and setting books on other planets and things like that. Sci-fi has always been, of my big 3, I've always been a fantasy, media tie-in fiction, and sci-fi fan. But sci-fi is slowly creeping up and becoming a favorite genre for me. Because I'm really loving this genre. So I'm hoping that I enjoy Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. Next, I have 2 books by Malcolm Gladwell. I told you there were nonfiction on here. I have Outliers and The Tipping Point. Outliers I bought new. The Tipping Point I bought used. I've heard good things about Malcolm Gladwell. I've heard him talk on podcasts, and I love his voice, the way he talks. I love the way he talks, and so I'm hoping that his books read like that. And this one was pretty cheap. And then Outliers, I've heard good things about the book. So I'll be interested to read these. If you read these, what did you think of them? So I'll get to those. And then this is the book that probably will shock the most people, and that is, I told them I have a group on Twitter called the Awkward Silence Gang, so they already know about it, but I haven't told anyone else. And that is The Gunslinger by Stephen King. I have never read Stephen King. I've put him off for years. I've always said I don't want to read Stephen King because everything I've heard about him has been, I don't want to read that. I couldn't handle that. It's not my type of fiction, but I was thinking about this series for a while, and I was told, if you want to get into Stephen King, read the Dark Tower series. And the first book's really short. It's only like 280 pages long. 250 pages long, sorry. So it's really short. So I should be able to read it real quickly and be able to give a thumbs up or thumbs down on the book. So if you've read The Dark Tower, do you really enjoy it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. The final book I got is the most behemoth, huge book, is Wrath by John Gwynne. I read the first book back in 2021. the Matt's Malice, and then I read Valor in 2022. And I'm gonna be honest, I remember a few of the main characters, and I remember the ideas, but that's about it. I really don't remember much about the books. But I have book 3, which I'm going to be reading this month in June. So probably by the time this video's out, I've already read the book. But I'm reading this the book 3, and I was like, well, I only have one book left, so I may as well get book 4 so that I can read it. It's a pretty big, decent book. It's about just under 700 pages, but it's this huge trade paperback version. We have the term MMO for massive multiplayer online. We need like MTP, massive trade paperback. But this is a big one, and I enjoyed the first 2. I just don't remember them. So hopefully I enjoy book 3 and book 4. So that is my book haul for the month of June. A lot of books on here to talk about. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments section and which ones you are excited about, which ones you think are bad, which ones you think I'm going to be mixed on. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.